Hey, Ree, what's going on? It is James here with Crypto Common Sense, aka Three Peaks Trading, and we're going to look at some potential legitimate cases for a bullish case for Bitcoin. And we're going to do that based on charts, not hopium, and not false narratives. I don't personally think this is what's happening, but if you want a bullish case and you want it to be based on a chart, I can at least give you that. So this is a chart of Bitcoin versus the QQQ. I'm going to take it out of log format. I'm going to put it on a regular format. We're going to zoom in from a monthly chart. We're going to look at just a weekly chart. So I've been talking a lot about distribution, and of course, distribution is bearish and redistribution is bearish. So when we look at, like a dollar, Bitcoin versus dollar chart, like I talked about, this could be redistribution, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the bullish case. This is Bitcoin versus the QQQ. This is a range. This is an uptrend. Okay, to be clear, uptrend range. If you guys watched my previous videos, you'll know that redistribution often presents itself as a flag type of pattern before more upside. So just like in the video where I said, hey, this could be a redistribution. Oops, didn't mean to move that. Where this is going down, consolidates, and then continues down. Maybe, if you're a bull, maybe this is actually an uptrend. This is consolidation, and this is going to pump up from here. And when I say maybe, I'm not being sarcastic. Let's be very clear. I'm not saying this is like just impossible. I'm just saying like I'm about 70-30 bearish, which means that this is only like 30-70. Like this would be like if I was laying odds, I would say, hey, there's about a 30% chance this is what's happening, and about a 70% chance that other thing is happening. So bulls need to be super, super on top of this, because right now, all this really is a range. And so it's come down, it's had the sell-off, and it's currently just barely off the bottom of that range. It could be testing liquidity there. And if that's the case, it very well could pump from here. It really could pump, and it really could go higher, and it really could have another leg left in the market, or multiple legs. Even the bulls, they're out there screaming about this 4-year cycle and how there's one more pump. Guys, there's no magical rule that says it has to be 4 years. Like, why would it just be one more pump? Why would you be like, oh, it's one more pump and then it's done? I mean, if you're just going off the 4 years, we're already past it. The first cycle ended in November. Well, not the first one, but like the first big one was November of 2013. And then 49 months later, it topped in December of 2017. About 47 months after that, it topped in November of 2021, if my math is right. So we're already at 48 months. Everybody always has the same expectation, and that's part of what hides distribution, because people are like ignoring the obvious. But again, let's try to stay on the bull side here. If this is a bullish scenario, this is the range. This could be reaccumulation before it goes higher. If it is accumulation or reaccumulation, there's no rule that says this is going to top next month. There's no rule that says it's got one pump left. If this is accumulation, it might have 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, or maybe this time really is different. And maybe this time it has years of upside ahead, because we do know that the Fed is, starting to drop hints that they're going to turn quantitative easing back on. Personally, I think that's a terrible decision, but they are talking about the possibility of turning on QE. So if they turn on QE and stocks melt up and risk on assets melt up, it could be that cryptocurrency melts up with it. That is a plausible bullish scenario. One thing that's not showing up right now that would help, make me lean more to the bull side is if we had some strong like RSI, like where it was putting in higher lows, that would be great. But we're not seeing that. RSI is actually putting in lower lows, which is a sign of weakness. We take that off of there, and then, well, let's look at, volume. And I've been teaching you guys about volume, saying like, you wanted to see are the bigger days selling volume, or is it buying volume that kind of, gives you some clues. And in this case, the volume is fairly equal. Like there's not a huge disparity in the volume levels, but the small disparity that exists, if you really look at it, again, what we're seeing is the bigger days, the outlier days, or excuse me, weeks, because these are weekly candlesticks, The outlying weeks tend to be selling weeks, okay? Tend to be red. We see more red, bigger red than we do green. But again, they're fairly close. So I don't feel like this is super definitive. And that's why I'm saying that this could potentially be happening, like a small, like maybe 25, 30% chance that this is reaccumulation. I wanted to do the video not because I'm bullish, but because, listen, it is important to consider different alternatives and different aspects and different angles. Here's your bullish scenario backed up by real TA, so that you can see that if you're somebody who's just a perma bear, or somebody who's like using bad risk management because you're super bearish, realize there are plausible bullish scenarios. If you're somebody who's super bullish, this might make you feel a little bit better. It might not, I don't know. But realize that, again, I think this is the less likely scenario, although it is entirely plausible. If we look at US dollars, it's a little tougher to see this happening, but not impossible there either. Okay, because remember, this dump really just came back and tested all of this. And about a month ago, when price was around this level, I said that, if somebody put me in a position where I had to choose, that I would be more bullish than bearish. I said I didn't see a good trade there. But if I had to, I said that I expected more of a bounce than a drop, because the drop itself, if it happened, the reward to risk wouldn't be great from this level here. Because I said it was probably going to get stuck around 100K just because of the strong psychological level and previous support and all this kind of stuff. And that's what we're seeing. It stopped right around $100,000. So it's really, really tough to predict what happens next. And I still feel like that way. The reward to risk box you see on the chart, that's different, because that reward to risk box would have been something that could have been entered up here when it was actually presenting as a last point of supply, not down here where the reward to risk was much, much rougher. So that's my 2 cents, guys. It's early in the morning and I wanted to shoot this. I'm struggling a little bit myself right now. I'm going back into autistic burnout, right? It's just I cycle between these highs and lows where I'm go from hyper focus to complete burnout. And so I'm really trying to create some type of consistency with the videos and stuff, because and I don't think it's going to work. I'll be very straight, but I'm trying to kind of overpower my neurological wiring with this, because I don't like going dark where I'm just kind of like out of commission for months. And so I'm kind of trying to force this. So if you notice like a bunch of videos popping off, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to force myself to do things that are, very difficult for me to do. But also, if I suddenly disappear, it's not because I'm disappearing for good. It's probably because I had to step back, and it means I'll be back in a few months or a few weeks or 3 months or whatever it is, like has been the case now for several years, right? Go through periods of hyper productivity, hyper focus, followed by periods of complete burnout, which is the same reason that I haven't, had a job in, I don't know how many years now, 15 years, right? Had to move to self-employment and trading and things that I could do on my own terms, where not showing up for a month or 3 months wasn't going to be, career ending. So there it is. There's some technical analysis for you bulls out there. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a bear, again, it's not meant to scare you and say, oh gosh, don't be bearish. It's simply to say that markets are tricky and they never tell you for sure what they're going to do. They give you hints, and sometimes they lead you on and then they stand you up. It's just the way it works. That's why it's always critical you use proper risk management. All that being said, I'm some guy sitting in a spare bedroom, so nothing in the video is financial advice. You should always go out and do your own due diligence and seek out professional financial advice from a licensed financial advisor before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, precious metals, Forex, or any other tradable asset. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment letting me know what you think. Are you leaning to the bull side, or are you leaning to the bear side?